Hello everyone, welcome. I am Angela Sicorso. Since 2020, I have been an Edge Associate responsible for the design and implementation of the Delaware Teacher Growth and Support System. This is the first of 3 online modules to welcome you to the system. By the end of this module, you will understand the history, the theory of action, and the guiding principles of the Delaware Teacher Growth and Support System, or as some refer to it, the DTGSS. You will also know the goals and timeline for the Delaware Teacher Growth and Support System, the pilot, and your role in the pilot. We will not cover the details of the DTGSS in this module. You will have 2 more asynchronous modules covering the observation tool and the process. Every learner ready for success in college, career, and life. This is what we set out to do as educators. Student performance in Delaware is not where it needs to be, and we cannot be satisfied with where we are as a field. Not enough students are getting to college prepared. The recent College Success Report in Delaware showed us that while class of 2015 college enrollment increased to 61%, 41% of those students need remediation, and that number hasn't changed. That means that while our students are going to college in increasing numbers, they are not going to college well prepared. On average, 30% of students who require remediation in college never graduate with a bachelor's degree. This means that we aren't fulfilling our promise to Delaware students, and we aren't adequately preparing them for the rigors of college and careers after they leave our K-12 schools. According to NAEP, less than 40% of Delaware 4th and 8th grade students are demonstrating proficiency. We also know how hard teachers are working, and that teachers matter deeply. Several studies have shown that teacher quality matters more than any other in-school factor in a child's learning. Teachers performing in the top 20% generate up to half a year of learning more than lower performing teachers. We deeply believe that teachers matter. And what do we know? We know that all students are not yet meeting rigorous standards, that every child deserves an effective teacher. Teachers work hard every day and deserve support. And supporting teachers' ongoing growth and development will ensure greater teacher effectiveness. Specific, actionable feedback for teachers is the best way we can develop teacher skill and increase effectiveness for kids. And much has changed since DPAS 2 was implemented. Common Core standards raised expectations for kids. The in-text standards clarified expectations for teachers, and educators across Delaware want an evaluation system that better supports their growth. And an excellent evaluation system is one based on a shared belief in what has the greatest impact on student learning, and teachers are provided feedback based on that shared belief. It's one that supports teachers with a continuous cycle of professional growth based on feedback and shared belief. And it ensures that each student has an effective teacher. In many cases, including in DPAS 2, evaluation systems are implemented with a teaching focus. In a teaching focus system, the focus is on the teacher. This means that the system prompts the evaluator to examine what the teacher does and compares that to a set of teaching standards. It typically is comprised of few observations per year, maybe 1 to 3 depending on the teacher's experience, and the observations are rated each time because the focus is on the teacher's performance against standards. Conferences serve the purpose to review the observation and to sign off on the rating the teacher gets. Sometimes conferences include recommendations of things the teacher should do to get better alignment with teaching standards. Well, there's nothing inherently wrong with a teaching-focused system, but there is a glaring omission in focus from this list, and I'm sure you know what that is. And you're right, it's the students. We are striving to create a learning-focused system. A learning-focused system prompts the educator to examine what the teacher does and the impact the teacher's actions has on students, rather than just comparing the teacher's actions to a list of inputs. This means that instead of 1 or 2 observations that are rated, the teacher has frequent, shorter observations throughout the year so that the teacher and observer can see the impact of teaching on students over time. Conferences focus less on ratings and more on the impact the teacher had on students and results in goal setting in terms of students. In a learning-focused system, everything is focused on the teacher growing and improving in order to better serve students and ensure that students are growing and improving. So while our evaluation system still will include rating, the focus is on the learning and development of the teacher so that students will get the excellent instruction they deserve and have a chance to improve. Core beliefs. Great teachers are essential for student growth and achievement. This is primarily a system for teacher development rather than evaluation, and it was designed to help teachers grow. Teachers' goals, evaluation measures, and observation feedback will focus on both student outcomes and teacher inputs. A few other big ideas are related to what we've discussed, but not necessarily ideas that we've dug into in detail. They include both how teachers set goals and how they are supported to achieve those goals, and it should be differentiated to best meet teacher needs. Ongoing observation and feedback will help teachers develop their skills more quickly and more effectively. The evaluation is a holistic, comprehensive assessment of a teacher's practice over the course of the year, not just a one-time observation. We're prioritizing the in-person conference as a key lever for teacher growth over an extensive write-up. Our goal is to simplify the process and have it be a better use of leader time because it has a big impact on teacher development. So let's talk about the theory of action that drives our work. The system we designed is in the blue circle. The framework is the definition, the process is the development. Despite efforts by educators across the state, Delaware students are not yet meeting expectations or are fully prepared for college and career. And because teachers are the #1 most influential in-school factor in whether a student is successful, our theory is that if teachers and leaders across the state have a shared expectation for what great teaching and learning looks like and sounds like, and teachers are supported to improve their practice and meet those expectations for what great teaching is, then student learning and success will increase. So then, educators need a teacher framework that articulates expectations for students and articulates skills and development strategies for teachers to meet those expectations. These are the key messages of our system. It was driven by Delaware teachers and leaders, and these teachers and leaders continue to meet today, with a focus on student learning around a common definition of teaching and learning excellence that prioritizes progress with a focus on teacher growth and with an aim to strengthen the adult professional culture. The design was driven by the Steering Committee of Educators, and for several years, these educators from across the state drove the redesign. These members included teachers, school leaders, district leaders, superintendents, and representatives from higher education, as well as members of the Department of Education. Members represent all counties and both traditional district and charter schools. Members served on the committee for the full design years, from the fall of 2018 until the present. I'll pause here so you can take a few minutes to read some of the quotes from members on the committee. The steering committee, and I was a member of the steering committee, embarked on a process to redesign the evaluation system. Over the course of the school year, we examined a number of different tools and resources. These included the in-text standards, which Delaware adopted. The in-text standards describe what grade teachers know and do to achieve outcomes for students. They serve as the baseline of professional expectations for teachers in Delaware. The instructional shifts required by the Common Core. The Common Core raises expectations for kids, and as a result requires teachers to change how they teach to ensure students meet those expectations. We examine tools that articulate the Common Core shifts and what they look like in the classroom. We read a report called The Opportunity Myth that details what students are and are not getting in terms of education and support in schools, and identified what will be important to ensure that all Delaware teachers know and are able to do. We examined several exemplar frameworks to identify and understand different features and structures of frameworks, and borrowed many ideas from other tools in use. Finally, and most importantly, we reflected on educator feedback, both on feedback collected annually across the state on DPAS-2, and also on feedback from members of the steering committee themselves. So I am proud to introduce to you the Delaware Teacher Growth and Support System, or as some refer to it, the DTGSS. So let's compare DPAS-2 to DTGSS. First, DTGSS is focused on impact. This framework is outcome-focused, which means it examines what students do and say as a result of what the teacher has done. The language of the new framework prompts observers to assess instruction based both on what teachers are doing and what students are doing. Many descriptors outline what students say and do to evidence learning. The process also preferences impact that teachers have on students and their own growth. The process is also streamlined. The framework has 9 rated indicators and is designed to be less cumbersome to implement than other frameworks. The process is more focused on steps that have shown to directly support teacher growth and development versus endless paperwork. Objective. The framework virtually eliminates the use of quantifying language, words like some, most, all. This type of language can be unclear and not specific enough for educators. The process provides many opportunities for administrators to view teaching and to build a complete picture of the teacher's strengths and growth areas. Prioritizes what happens in the classroom. The framework only includes behaviors and actions that can be directly observed in a lesson. This means that elements of professionalism and planning are not explicitly included in the framework indicators. The results of professionalism and planning can be seen throughout many descriptors and in each indicator. Those elements are explicitly captured in core teacher skills, which align with each performance area, and are intended as tools for coaching, but are not rated. What matters most is what teachers do for kids, which is what happens in the classroom. So let's take a quick tour of the framework. You can download the framework from the Delaware DOE website or from your district Schoology page. You may also have a copy with you. First, there are 3 performance areas. Each performance area is accompanied by an essential question. The essential question guides what is being assessed in the performance area. Each performance area and indicator also has 4 levels of performance. Each performance has 3 indicators. Each indicator has descriptors that describe the indicator at each level of performance. And each performance area also has core teacher skills. Core teacher skills are not rated. Instead, they are used for coaching and development. They are a list of things that great teachers do to get the outcomes in the performance area. Let's take a look at the SMART card that highlights the main idea of each performance area. So for performance area 1, which is titled Learning Environment, to what extent does the classroom environment support all students to learn? 1.1, Structures for Learning. 1.2, Positive Classroom Climate. And 1.3, Equitable Access. So I'll pause here so you can read through Performance Area 1 and the descriptors. Okay, moving on to Performance Area 2, Engagement in Learning. To what extent does the instruction support and engage all students? This is referencing 2.1, Objectives for Learning, 2.2, Learning Experiences, and 2.3, Checks for Understanding and Feedback. And Performance Area 3, Maximizing Learning. To what extent do students retain and apply their learning? 3.1 is Rigorous Assignments, 3.2, Questioning and Discussion, and 3.3, Academic Language and Vocabulary. So take a few minutes to read through those descriptors. Now you might be wondering why the word draft is stamped across the page, and you will notice that across all the pages in the framework. That's because in Pilot Year 2, we are still gathering information and may need to change some of the language. So draft will remain on the framework through the next year. So what does the proposed process and framework look like? It focuses on the idea of ongoing observation and feedback with clear touch points for a larger step back with the teacher to set, adjust, and review goals. From September to May, there are ongoing observations with conferences. In September, there will be the Fall Conference, where the teacher sets their professional growth goal and student improvement goals. From January to mid-March, there will be the mid-year conference, where if the teacher wants to revise their growth plan, they are able to do that. The mid-year conference is optional. And then at the end of the year is the spring conference for the evaluation report. Ongoing observation and feedback is the highlight of this system. Here's a high-level overview of the process. A few key headline ideas. Fall Conference is for the professional growth plan, which also includes the student improvement goal. Multiple shorter observations that are not rated. Mid-year conference to review progress and to revise the professional growth plan if necessary. Again, the mid-year conference is optional at the request of the administrator or at the request of the teacher. And the spring conference is the evaluation report. Module 3 will do a deep dive into the process. At that time, we will talk about the different types of professional growth plans. But the key here is there are ongoing observations and feedback throughout the year that are not rated. So we've talked about the overall framework. Now we're going to dive into the specifics of each component, starting with the 3 big annual meetings between the teacher and the evaluator. The fall conference to set the goals, an optional mid-year conference to review progress, and then the spring conference to assess growth and achievement. Teachers will receive multiple short observations throughout the year. These observations are not rated. They give the chance for the administrator to get a complete picture of the teacher's performance over time and to collect evidence to inform feedback and support. Ratings are not assigned until the end of the year. So let's talk about another difference between the DPAS-2 and the Delaware Teacher Growth and Support System. A point about what we mean when we say simplify. Simplifying the system is about streamlining the steps and the compliance activities so that the time that educators spend on the system is a better use of their time focused on teacher development, not on administrative steps. This doesn't mean that the system will take less time for evaluators. What it does mean is that the time spent on implementing the system will be more productive and beneficial for teachers and students. For example, many evaluators have told us that it takes them about many hours to write 20, 30, or even 40-page reports after each observation that they have conducted. These detailed narratives not only take a lot of time, but teachers have told us that they're not helpful in supporting them to grow. In the new system, we expect that a simpler post-observation form will instead allow for more time for the evaluator and the teacher to engage in discussion about the teaching and learning happening in the classroom and for those observations and discussions to happen more frequently. This brings us to the 2022-2023 school year and the pilot that you are a part of. Why are we conducting a second-year pilot? Ultimately, the pilot is our chance to test the new system as designed. So we want to assess the modifications made in response to the feedback we received during the first pilot year. We want to ensure that we strengthen the system prior to statewide rollout during the 2023-2024 school year. We want to fully implement the new tool and observation process to identify final changes before the system is implemented statewide. We want to implement a revised training and additional support for administrators and teachers in the pilot to inform full rollout training strategy. And we want to identify training and resources that will be necessary to ensure successful statewide implementation. So your voice matters. Being in a pilot district, you will get the opportunity to shape how the final DTGSS system looks and feels to teachers and leaders across the state. Throughout the year, you will have the opportunity to share your feedback with the Department of Education and the Steering Committee. The DOE is piloting this session because your input and feedback matter. Your experience and what you share will drive what this looks like, so use your voice. Your pilot role responsibilities will to be engaged in full observation tool, to engage in the process, to ensure comprehensive training and take advantage of all the optional opportunities that are available. Participate in completing your surveys, focus groups, to ensure we get the information we need. And we appreciate your input. What you can expect. You can expect online onboarding modules like the one you're doing now. You can expect in-person onboarding with your administrator, optional ongoing trainings throughout the year, which you can receive clock hours, and coaching and support to help you meet goals for your students. We also have a Studying Skillful Teaching course that our Research for Better Teaching partners produces for us, and there is a teacher stipend for that. So you will hear more about that in the fall. And for school leaders can expect online onboarding modules, online and in-person training with both Research for Better Teaching, which we call RBT, and the DAZZLE coaches, optional coaching and training, and a system that better uses their time to support teacher growth. So here's the pilot timeline. You're engaging in onboarding right now, beginning that process. When you come back in the fall of September 2022, you'll engage in goal setting and fall conferences. The student improvement goal, what you know as Component 5, has not changed. So that's going to be a part of this process. Between October and November, observations will continue. Between December and January, the optional mid-year conference can occur and observations continue. Between February and April, observations continue. And at the end of the year, the summative evaluations and spring conference occurs. Now, you might be asking, how many observations does each teacher get? The department sets a minimum requirement. Certainly more can be done, but the department says a minimum of 4 15-minute observations. So 2 prior to mid-year and 2 after mid-year. So your voice matters, as I said, so you will be asked to complete at least 2 surveys. You will have invitations to participate in an interview. You will have invitations to participate in a focus group. You will receive some feedback, online feedback forms to complete. And we will come out to do site visits as learning visits. We need to learn about our system, and the best way to do that is to get into the classroom, do an observation, and talk with you. So you probably have a lot of questions that came up. What specifically is in the framework? How will teachers be observed? What happens with the Component 5? So as you think about your questions, you can jot them down and you can email me, Angela Soccorso. So my email is angela.soccorso@doe.k12.de.us. And you spell my last name as Soccorso. Feel free to contact me at any time. So congratulations, you have finished Module 1 of your online training. In order for you to be considered finished, you must complete the summary survey. The survey will ask you questions about what you learned and ask for your feedback so that we can focus future trainings in areas that you need help in. We are excited to hear from you. Your survey link will be in Schoology, and it will be a Google form where you can answer these questions. Thank you so much for your time and patience, and enjoy the rest of your day.